Hello and welcome to our midweek conversation at First Baptist Sweetwater. I'm Jerry Hendricks. We strive to be the first responders of God's love. That's our goal. That's our mission here at First Baptist Sweetwater. I'm here today with T. Hamilton for our anniversary edition.
I like it.
Well, I'm glad you like that.
400
T.
episodes, and now we're at the anniversary edition.
Yeah, well, so each year when we recognize our staff on their anniversaries of serving here at our church. We've done that for, I guess, every year that I've been here. And mine and yours are coming about the same time.
They're like one Sunday separated.
Right. And so they always precede spring break. This year, I think in actuality, yours would have been, because I think your actual anniversary date is March 1st.
Mine was Shrove Tuesday.
Yeah. And so we would have done that probably on Sunday, last Sunday. Mine was the 8th, I believe. But I count the first Monday I was here, not the first Sunday.
Right.
So anyways, Teague and I decided that it might be good to kind of bring people into our story, how we met, and how we continue to work together, get along, work together, that kind of thing. But so I did have to reconnect some of the dots to all this in terms of specific dates. And as you might guess, Teague remembers far better than I do. But we first met in 1997 at Howard Payne University.
Right. I was a student there, and you were a guest speaker in Scott Stevens' class. It was a youth ministry class, and you came over from church in Abilene and were helping lead that class and took a lot of notes. And so that's why you had to connect the dots, because I was just one of 20-something students. You were the one speaker, and you were nearby. So.
But, the additional connection there, I don't know if we made it that day, but your grandparents remember the church I was in. That's Pioneer Drive Student Ministry, and so
they were longtime members there, and I had called and told them that you were there, and they were all excited.
Yeah, well, your grandparents were my children's Sunday school teachers, and so everybody loved the Hamiltons.
Yep,
and
40-something years they taught Sunday school.
And so they thought our kids were special, but we found out they thought every kid was special.
They did love kids. They do love kids,
yeah. And so they kept up with them. And so really we didn't keep in touch a whole lot from that period until the time you and Stacy joined Crosspoint.
Right.
I can't remember.
I went to camp with you in summer of 2006. We went to Baylor and did Horizon Camp, and that's where we got to hang out a little bit more. That was my first experience at a camp that wasn't like an associational camp, and so we got to see the other side of what camping can be. Yeah. And so that was a lot of fun. But yeah, that was Burgundy Road was there as a band. The speaker. Can't remember who the speaker was that year, but I remember that we had a lot of fun. Yeah,
having camp on the Baylor campus was challenging, and
it's a big area.
It was such a massive space, and there's a lot of things that were fun about it, but because it was so different. But we didn't do that for much longer after that. I don't think.
Right, it wasn't Baylor. We went to McMurray and Hardin and some of those afterwards. But yeah, that was. We did camp with you there, and then into the December 2006, when we left Potosi, we went to Crosspoint.
So Potosi, that's another connection you and I shared.
Right.
That in my college time, Sharon and I served there, and I was youth minister there.
Right.
And so we knew a lot of the same people through that experience that were still in that church.
Right. And I don't know when we talked about and connected that you were there. We did a cookbook fundraiser. Oh, yeah. And Betty Hamill said, hey, I'll help you do this. She loved cooking. And I was like, thank you. She said, but I don't think we should put a list of pastors. And I was like, why not? She goes, because we always do that. This is a youth fundraiser. Let's do a list of youth ministers. Oh. And so she got it all together. And I was like, wait, Jerry Hendricks. Is that the same one? She said, oh, yeah. And so that's when I connected to there.
There was a good string of youth ministers that got started in ministry at Potosi. And Robbie Barrett followed me. He's now at First Baptist Amarillo. Okay. The guy before me, I can't remember his name, but he was still in ministry for a good while there. But so yeah, it's pretty fun connection. Yeah. But then the exciting part for us then, really as a family, we had started Crosspoint Fellowship in Abilene, and my first church to pastor, and being a pastor of a church start is a lot different. But because it was a church start, we depended a lot on volunteers.
Right.
And then I had also set up this Horizon Camp and that kind of thing as a way to really, as originally I pictured it as my exit from student ministry, as a way to still be in student ministry but not in a local church. And so when you and Stacy came to Cross Point, got involved there and helping us, and our kids fell in love with you guys. I don't remember how old they would have been at the time.
I mean, it was 06, 07, 08. So, yeah, they were there because I had a lot of fun conversations with James as we would drive to camps.
Oh, yeah. He had a lot of really good mentors through that experience, and which was good because my kids didn't enjoy doing camp because they had responsibilities.
Right.
They liked being behind the scenes, but they didn't like some of the stuff that they had to do. So having good friends along there with them was the bonus to that.
Right.
And friends today.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So then you came to Cross Point. You and Stacy came to Cross Point, and somehow through that was a pretty quick realization for us to zero in on you and Stacy to work with us in camps.
Yeah, it was because it was the next summer that we were meeting together, or that we were helping with camps, and that was a whirlwind of a year. That was the year of the summer of the Disney kids. We had that group of leaders, and so it was a lot of fun being able to do that. And you talk about like James and Sarah. James taught me a lot about just leading rec games. I'd never had to lead rec games before, or I'd only seen like camp people do it or whatever. Like DBU would come in and do stuff. And so James was the one that helped me learn how to do it, and that you have to pretend like you know what you're doing, otherwise the youth minister will think you don't know what you're doing. And so a lot of that theology or theory goes into how I lead now.
Yeah, my kids learned a lot more from all that experience than what they would let on, but I would see it in other places in different ways. But so it was a good experience for us. And then of course, when we had the Disney kids, so we sort of changed the way in camp recreation that people were doing it, managing it. We decided that it's okay to have juniors in high school that people don't know to come and to lead these rec games. And with that particular group, the reason we call them the Disney kids, one of them had actually appeared in an episode of Hannah Montana with a line. So she had 4 to 6 words or something like that. And so they were very creative. They had done some things at school that we saw, and we thought, well, it'd be fun to bring that into the camp. But you and Stacy led that group, so that was a chunk of camp that I didn't have to worry about because of yours and Stacy's leadership with them.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, and those were good kids. They did a lot of the videos also. That was the year of noise, so they did great moments in noise history. My favorite one was when they snuck into the drummer's bedroom at night and blew the air horn and videoed that. That was hilarious. And so there were really good ones, and that's where you learn not every video is going to be great, but when you get the great ones, everybody wants to see them over and over and over again.
Yeah, right. So. Well, and it's interesting because I was just thinking, watching you direct our children's camps now, your skill set was developed through those early days. And watching the way that you work with, because we use our own students as rec leaders in our children's camp. And you and Stacy direct that.
Yeah, a lot of that comes from those kids, and then from Sean Ashmore. Sean was the one that just kept saying, you don't want to be on stage forever talking. You're not the center of it. Just get up there, say what you need to do, and get down and lead to the next thing. And so he was really developmental for me in that. And then so that's what I kind of go with in children's ministry or children's camp, and just get up there, get it done. Let the kids and the children's ministers be the highlight of the show.
Yeah, well, definitely fun times, and then we still connect in a big way because you help us not just with kids camp, but you're a good brainstorming person for me for youth camps and teaching and Bible studies and things like that.
When you said Cross Point with us being there, you said it at Ash Wednesday, or maybe Sunday, I can't remember, that was our first place to experience Advent and Lent. And so we've both kind of been along that same track together over the years, because that's where we both kind of started with those things.
Right.
And so that's been exciting too, that it's not just camp and those type of things. It's a spiritual journey with the Christian calendar. There we go. That's
right. Well, and to sort of bridge that gap then, you and Stacy were with us, I guess, 3 years at Cross Point. In fact, I just recall this, that we were such a young church that we didn't have, except for staff and a sponsor church, we didn't have a lot of accountability. And so, but our congregation was so young, we didn't know how to develop that. And we had just gotten to the point where we said, okay, we're going to go ahead and have a group of elders. And you were one of the people that we're talking about at that time, and you were, I don't know, were you in your 30s yet? I don't even know.
I came here at 29. So
okay, so no, you were not.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how young we were, or the church was. And so, but then you had an opportunity to jump back into student ministry, and you moved to Sweetwater, Texas.
Right. It was funny. Philip Thomas called and said, hey, are you ready to come out of retirement? And I said, I'm not in retirement. And that was in October of 2008. He said, just found out I'm losing my youth minister, just got here at Sweetwater. And I said, I'd be willing to talk about it. I said, I got to talk to Stacy first. And in that process, over, I don't know, it was, October to March. That's how quick it went.
So during that period, we continued our friendship. I started Monk's Coffee Shop.
Right.
I think you were there we started that, because you even learned to cover a shift, didn't you?
You taught me how to make tuxedo mochas, which were uniquely Monks.
Yeah.
Like, that was their drink, and that was where I got to help out. And every once in a while, when they get super busy and I'd be in there drinking something, they'd say, hey, come over here. So I'd get to go over and help make drinks. And so, yeah.
Well, and then you would bring your students over.
Yes.
For a Sunday night. Most of the time, it was a Sunday night or a Wednesday night.
It depended on when it fell in the school year, whether it be Sunday or Wednesday. I just remember we always had to give you a heads up, or at least give Grant a heads up.
Right.
So that way he knew that he was about to get a busload of kids coming in all wanting sugar.
Right. So through that, I met a couple of people from the church here. Robert Aker.
Yep.
Is one I remember in particular, and then Dusty and Amanda Morrow.
Right. They were some of the regular ones that would come with us over there. And I still remember the first time I think that you really got to know Robert was when a kid walked in off the streets and started playing on the stage, and you looked at it and you said, is that from your group? And I said, no. And you're like, hey, open mic night is Thursday. And Robert just busted out laughing. So there it was.
I wasn't in the room at that time.
And
I was trying to let y'all just do what y'all wanted to do. And I heard this music, and I thought, well, I guess Teak planned a program. And I come around there, and it was an awkward moment. It wasn't awkward for the musician, because I don't think he understood.
No. And
he was kind of out of it.
You walk in off the street and you see a stage and you're like, oh, I'll start playing here.
Yeah,
and he did.
But it did. I think it gave Robert insight to the culture that we had downtown. So.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Well, so not long, I guess it was a while after that, I got to the point where I had opened a second coffee shop, Monk's Store, across from Hardin Simmons, and life was really busy. And the church was just, I didn't feel like, it was become more of a ministry than a church, and I needed to focus on the stuff that we were doing with camps and coffee shops. And so I retired, and retired from Cross Point. We started attending a church the very next Sunday, so the first Sunday in November, and somewhere in there, you gave me a phone call.
Yeah, Stacy and I got to go over for your last Sunday at Cross Point. We took off of here so we could go over there, and I was at Monk's, and you had said you were retiring, and I looked at Stacy, I was like, no way, that's not happening. And then we had an interim at the time, Dr. Meeks. We got to Advent. He was traveling from Plainview. It's a long trip every weekend, time away from family. And we just knew that it was time to give him a little bit of break as a staff and as a deacon body, and kind of leading that, and said, hey, what if we give you Advent off and we invite someone to come preach that? And he jumped on it. He was like, yes, please, that'd be great. And then the question was, who would do Advent? And I said, well, Jerry used to do it. That's the only person I've ever known to lead Advent, did it Cross Point. And Robert Aker was on that team. He said, yeah, let's ask Jerry. And so went over and asked you to come over, and you said, sure, I'll do it.
Well, I was curious about, in retirement from ministry, what that would look like, speaking in churches on Sundays in different places. And so I go, well, this will be a test a little earlier than I expected. If you remember, I was already committed to going to a basketball game in Kentucky. And so I started the Sunday after, or the second Sunday of Advent.
Right.
And then I went through, I think, the first Sunday after Advent. But so did 4 weeks there. I remember telling Sharon, I go, hey, I said, I know I'm not that good, but I said, there's a chance that that they might think that this would be a good possibility, because y'all had been through an interim for a pretty good time.
Right. It'd been almost 2 years, I think.
Yeah. And the search committee was active at that time. And but I passed that off. I remember being very intentional. I brought my stool over, which remains here.
Yep.
And y'all gave me a key to the pastor's office, the back door there. And so I was very intentional about not trying to work the room, which I normally do.
Right.
Because I didn't want anybody to think that I was trying to vie for the job.
Right.
But we'd go to lunch each week. And then about the third Sunday, I told Sharon, I go, you know what? I think this may be something I should look into. And so spoke that Sunday. The following week, you came over to Monk's, and it was going to be my last Sunday there.
Right.
Coming over, and I said, hey, come up into the treehouse.
Right.
And so we went up into my office, which we called, or y'all called, everyone else called the treehouse.
Yeah.
I guess I eventually did. And I can't remember exactly how I asked you, but you didn't quite understand it.
Well, because the previous 3 weeks before, I had people talking to me constantly. Jerry's our next guy. Jerry should do it, Jerry. And I was going hard on, no, Jerry's retired. He doesn't want to go to another church. You can't ask him to do this. And he doesn't want to do this. Like, I know he does. And then we go up there, or I go up to the treehouse, and you said, hey, we need to, we need to stop talking about Jerry, or we need to stop joking about Jerry being pastor at First Sweetwater. And I said, man, I'm sorry. And I started apologizing by specific names of people I thought might have come and talked to you about it. And you said, because Jerry's honest. And I was like, but wait, what? And I kind of laughed because I thought we were joking again.
Yeah.
And that's when I found out, no, you were actually interested. I'm like, well, I know about 56 people that are going to be interested in that. And because even our friend David Woods, he had a plan on how it would work perfectly. And I was,
because because of the Monks connection and the staff here, I knew David and had met Philip through all this because of Monks. And so, anyways, I knew a little bit about the church and a little bit about Sweetwater. My parents had lived here for a period in the 1990s. So, then because of that conversation, coming over here for the last message, knowing that I was going to officially put my name in, that was an awkward Sunday for me. Now, no one else knew.
They didn't feel awkwardness.
Yeah. So you came here to serve as student minister in 2009. Yep. And so this week you've celebrated 13 years here. I came in 2015 in the spring. And this will be 7 years for me. Right.
And it's always funny if you count your years based on Advent you've been with us, it's always more than the years
you've been with us. I know.
Because your first Advent was when you weren't on staff.
Yeah, I always add my next year when Advent starts, because in my head, that's kind of when I got started here. But anyways, we've gone through a lot together, and COVID was a big one.
Yeah.
But our previous skill set through camp and friendship and Crosspoint kind of helped us through that, and along with the talents of a lot of our volunteers. And so here we are with that mostly in our rearview mirror, looking ahead to see what's next for us.
So 13 and 7. We're at 20 years together.
Yeah.
That's 2 decades.
That's an experienced staff right there.
Yeah, it is.
So, well, that about tells our story,
right?
How we got here and how we've been connected and stay connected. I have told Teek that he needs to know that most people never get to work with a friend. They may become friends with someone on staff, but Teek has had the opportunity to work with friends as his last 2 pastors. Yeah. And so that's the end of the road for you there, Teak.
Yeah, after this I retire.
But you're
course.
still blindly optimistic about it. So.
But that's kind of all the time.
Yeah,
so it's okay.
So, well, thanks for joining us on this midweek conversation, our anniversary edition. We will be in between 2 series. Our next series is going to be called Unfinished, and I think that will help us to prepare and lead into the heart of the Easter season. So, anyways, good to talk with Teak here and to share that with you guys. Look forward to seeing you Sunday at 10:30, whether it's live or live stream. We'll see you then.
See you then.